You think too much, not in a productive way, not in a strategic way, but in a way that never really turns off. Your mind doesn't just observe life, it dissects it. You notice contradictions in people's words. You sense subtle shifts in tone. You see patterns in behavior that others walk past without ever realizing. And sometimes, that awareness feels heavy. Conversations exhaust you, not because you dislike people, but because so much of what is said feels surface level. You nod, you smile. But internally you are 10 steps deeper. You can't unknow what you understand. Once you see a flaw in a system, you can't pretend it's fine. Once you understand someone's psychological defense, you can't take their reaction personally anymore. Once you see the illusion, it never fully becomes real again. And there are moments, quiet ones, when you secretly wish you were simpler, less analytical, less aware, less awake. You watch carefree people laughing, moving through life lightly, and a part of you wonders, is something wrong with me? Because intelligence was supposed to feel powerful. It was supposed to make life easier, more controlled, more meaningful. So why does it sometimes feel isolating? Why does it create distance instead of connection, depth instead of comfort, clarity instead of peace? You rarely say this out loud, but the question lingers. Is intelligence a gift or a quiet curse? And here's the uncomfortable thought. What if the thing you're most proud of, the thing that makes you feel different, is also the reason you suffer more than others? What if your depth is not just insight, but exposure? And what if a philosopher 2 centuries ago looked directly at this problem and explained why intelligent people often feel more dissatisfied than anyone else? Because there is a hidden psychological cost to intelligence. No one teaches it, no one warns you about it, but once you see it, you may never look at your own mind the same way again. Now let's go a little deeper. Over-awareness rarely feels dramatic. It feels subtle, constant, background. You walk into a room and immediately read the emotional temperature. You hear what someone says and what they're avoiding. You notice inconsistencies in systems, politics, relationships, even in yourself. And slowly, that awareness turns into chronic dissatisfaction. Because when you see flaws clearly, it becomes harder to relax inside them. You see the cracks in society. You see the fragility in relationships. You see your own contradictions. And the mind doesn't just observe these things. It keeps looping back to them. Even enjoyment becomes complicated. You watch a film and analyze the psychology. You achieve something and immediately question its meaning. You fall in love and silently map out the potential ending. You struggle to just enjoy because your brain doesn't switch off. It interrogates everything. Over time, this creates a quiet social alienation. Not because you're superior, but because your processing speed and depth often don't match the room. You crave depth, but most interactions operate on surface bandwidth. So you adapt. You simplify yourself. You hold back. And that holding back creates loneliness. Then there's the exhaustion, not physical exhaustion, mental, the constant internal dialogue, the silent simulations, the replays of conversations, the future projections. Your brain is always scanning. Here's the psychological reality. Intelligence increases pattern recognition, but pattern recognition also increases threat detection. You don't just see opportunities. You see risks. You see failure points. You see potential betrayal before it happens. And depth of thinking often correlates with depth of suffering. Because the same mind that can grasp beauty at a profound level can also grasp futility at a profound level. At night this becomes louder. When distractions fade, existential rumination begins. What is all this for? Why does desire never fully satisfy? Why do achievements feel temporary? Why does awareness feel isolating? This is the loneliness of cognitive asymmetry. When you perceive more than your environment reflects back to you, you feel misaligned with it. And here's something important. This isn't weakness. It's structural. Your suffering isn't proof that something is wrong with you. It may be evidence that your mind is operating at a depth that most systems were never designed to soothe. And that realization changes the conversation entirely. Let's step into the deeper layer. 2 centuries ago, a philosopher named Arthur Schopenhauer wrote about the very tension you feel. He described life as driven by the will a blind, insatiable force that constantly pushes, pulls, and demands. Desire, he said, is endless. Even when one craving is satisfied, another immediately emerges. And here's the cruel twist for those who think deeply. Intelligence amplifies this suffering. The more you understand, the more clearly you see the patterns of striving, the futility of chasing, the subtle unhappiness beneath every smile. Awareness becomes a double-edged sword. It frees you from illusions. But it also makes reality harder to bear. Schopenhauer called this the paradox of insight. The more clearly you perceive reality, the harder it is to romanticize it. Comfort is often preserved by ignorance. The world that feels so simple to others can feel hollow, repetitive, and fragile to you. He didn't just diagnose this pain. He hinted at a psychological escape, a way to live with depth without being destroyed by it. And that escape doesn't require you to become less intelligent. It requires you to understand the machinery of desire, awareness, and suffering. Pause for reflection. The very mind that exposes emptiness can also find a path through it, if it learns the hidden art Schopenhauer glimpsed. This is the tension you feel every day. Intelligence makes you painfully awake, yet within that same awareness lies the key to relief. Now we enter the shadow side of your mind. Intelligence, when untempered, can quietly turn corrosive. It can disguise itself as wisdom, a cynicism that whispers, "I see the truth." Others are blind. You may withdraw emotionally, convincing yourself distance is protection. A superiority complex can creep in, not born of pride, but as a shield against misunderstanding. And then comes the quiet nihilism. Life begins to feel smaller, emptier, like nothing truly matters. The very curiosity that once excited you now weighs heavily. Overanalysis replaces action. Opportunities pass because your mind is still turning them over. Measuring, calculating, doubting. This is not just a personality quirk. It is structural. Intelligence without grounding is like a sharp blade in unsteady hands. It can cut insightfully, but it can also cut you. You stop participating in life. You observe instead of living. You watch the world unfold with clarity, and yet feel invisible within it. This is the stage where many deep thinkers begin to quietly disconnect from meaning. Not abruptly, not dramatically, but slowly, imperceptibly, as awareness becomes isolation. And here's the danger most never see coming. The very tool that allows you to understand the world, your mind, can also keep you from fully inhabiting it. This is the shadow layer, where intelligence without balance becomes a barrier between you and life itself. Let's make this shadow real. Imagine someone highly capable, successful in their career, admired for intelligence and insight. In relationships, they are thoughtful, attentive, always analyzing dynamics. Externally, everything seems fine. Achievement is evident. Recognition is there. Yet internally, satisfaction is fleeting. Nothing feels fully enough. In social circles, they often feel alien. Conversations feel shallow. Small talk drains them. They notice nuances others overlook, gestures, inconsistencies, unspoken tension, and it isolates them. They secretly envy people who move through life lightly, those who laugh without calculation, those who enjoy without dissecting every detail. Slowly, they begin questioning the very trait they once celebrated. Is intelligence a gift or a burden? And here's the crucial pivot. The breaking point is rarely dramatic. It isn't failure. It isn't loss. It is chronic inner heaviness, a quiet, persistent exhaustion that follows even moments of success. The mind never rests. The soul never fully feels light. This is the lived experience of the over-aware mind, a continuous tension between capability and fatigue, insight and isolation. Now let's gently shift perspective. Here's the truth. Intelligence itself is not the problem. What creates suffering is attachment, the need to control, predict, and perfect everything. Awareness only becomes heavy when it meets resistance. When you fight reality, your depth turns into exhaustion. But when you allow it, your depth becomes a bridge, not a burden. Intelligence can cultivate compassion instead of cynicism. It can help you see the struggles of others without judgment. It can help you act with insight, not just observation. The choice is subtle but powerful, engagement over detachment. You don't need to withdraw from life to think deeply. You need to participate consciously, allowing your awareness to inform, not dominate your experience. There are psychological tools that can help. Aesthetic appreciation. Schopenhauer suggested art can provide relief from the endless striving of the mind. Beauty temporarily frees the mind from suffering. Creative expression, writing, painting, or music channels awareness into something generative instead of corrosive. Voluntary simplicity. Reducing unnecessary complexity eases the constant mental load. Emotional grounding practices. Meditation, mindful breathing, or presence in the body anchors the mind and reduces overanalysis. And here's the hidden insight, curiosity loop. But to 3. The secret isn't becoming less intelligent, it's learning when to turn it off, knowing when to step back, when to rest, when to simply exist. That is where peace quietly resides. Your mind, as sharp as it is, can finally become a source of liberation instead of weight. Here's the final layer, the psychological revelation. Let's be clear, you don't want less intelligence. What you want is less internal friction. You want your mind to stop waging war against reality. The pain isn't from seeing too much, it's from resisting what is. Schopenhauer's hidden insight is subtle but profound. Peace doesn't come from dulling your awareness. It comes from loosening desire, from letting go of the endless striving, from allowing life to unfold without constant mental pursuit. Intelligence, when freed from chasing, becomes peaceful. Sharp perception no longer isolates you. It observes, appreciates, and flows without dragging the heart into suffering. And here's something you need to hear. Deep thinkers are not broken. You are not flawed because your mind operates differently. You are unfinished. Your awareness is not a curse. It's a tool, one that can illuminate, create, and connect. Once you learn how to carry it with care. This is the quiet, hidden power of intelligence. It can reveal both the pain and the path through it. Let's close gently, directly to you. You have always sensed more than most. You notice what others overlook. You feel more deeply, think more clearly, and question more relentlessly. That depth can be exhausting. It can leave you tired, restless, even a little isolated. And that's normal. It doesn't mean you are broken. It means your mind operates at a level most never experience. Maybe intelligence was never the curse. Maybe the weight you've felt all these years isn't from thinking too much, but from never being shown how to carry it. You are not less for your awareness. You are simply learning slowly how to hold it with care. And in the next quiet moment, notice this. Are you merely observing life, or are you actually living it? The answer may not come immediately. And that's the tension, the subtle pull that keeps the mind awake, and the heart learning.